Your doctor or physio has told you that to improve your bone density, you need to be doing impact exercises.
But your knees, your hips or your back are telling you that jumping and jarring is the absolute last thing you should be doing. So you're stuck thinking, who should I listen to?
If that sounds like you, you're in exactly the right place. Hey, it's Ollie and Mitch from Be Mobile Physio, your guides for building strength and fitness over 55. Now, that conflict between boosting your bone mineral density and minimizing joint pain is one of the most common frustrations that we hear about, because the advice to do impact loading for your bones seems to completely contradict what your joints are telling you.
But it doesn't have to be that way. In this video, we're going to show you a clear physio path forward. We're going to show you how you can get all the bone building benefits of impact training, but in a way that's safe and respectful to your joints.
Here's the plan. First, we'll quickly explain why impact is so important for your bones. Then we'll help you rethink exactly what impact training means. And finally, we'll demonstrate 3 safe, progressive exercises, including a surprisingly simple way to start jumping that almost anyone can do.
And we'll show you how to safely build it up. So let's start with the necessary truth. Your bones aren't like concrete. They are a living, dynamic tissue that is constantly remodeling itself. This principle is known as Wolff's Law, which simply states that your bones adapt to the load it experiences.
When you challenge a skeleton, it responds by laying down new, stronger bone. And this process occurs via 2 main mechanisms. The first is from your muscles pulling on the bones where they attach via the tendon, and the second is through impact forces from the ground.
Both are incredibly important for your bone health, but in this video, we're going to focus on impact. Impact is what we call ground reaction force. So when you stomp or march your feet or jump, there's a force that's spread through your body, up through your skeleton, through your legs, into your hips and into your spine to make them stronger. Without this force, your body doesn't get the signal to reinforce its bone structure and will naturally weaken over time.
Exactly, but here is the crucial point that most people miss. Impact is not an on and off switch, it's a volume dial. You may have been led to believe that to improve your bone mineral density, you need to have that volume dial turned all the way up to loud with things like big jarring jumps, but that's not necessarily true.
Think of it like this. Low impact is simply walking. Moderate impact is more like stomping. And high impact is things like jumping and skipping.
Now, the goal isn't to start on the high end. What's crucial is to find a starting point that is tolerable for you and gradually build up over time. Now, of course, higher impacts are going to have a greater effect on your bone mineral density, but what's more important is consistent training over the long term. That's far more important than doing too much too soon and then having to take a month off impact loading.
And this approach is backed by the 2024 guidelines released by Healthy Bones Australia that states that even for people with conditions like osteoarthritis, the bone benefits of impact exercises are achievable and can be modified to make it tolerable.
That is your permission slip to get started safely. Now you know the why, let's get into the how. Okay, we're going to start with the volume dial on really low as a perfect entry point to some impact training if you do have sensitive joints. This is the firm march. You can hold onto something for support if you like, but basically we're just aiming to get a little bit of impact with the ground with each stomp. Now, it's a good idea to start this one with some comfy, supportive shoes, like a pair of running shoes. But really, all you're doing is aiming to get as much thud with the ground as you can tolerate. And as you're feeling comfortable, you can build that up and really amp up your stomps.
Okay, for exercise number 2, we're going to turn that dial up a little bit for an exercise called the heel slam. So for this one, you come up onto the ball of your feet, and you do a controlled thud down onto your heels. Now, it's in that thud where you get the important signal that goes through your heels, up your legs, into your hips and spine. But important note is as you come up and thud down, you can see I'm doing it with softly bent knees and hips, and this is just to make it more tolerable on your sensitive joints. So hold on to a sturdy surface, come up onto the balls of your feet, thud down. One more. Okay, there you go. That's the heel slam.
If your joints are handling exercise 1 and 2 okay, it might be time to turn up the volume and try some full jumps. But even still, we're going to use the kitchen bench or a piece of furniture to help control the amount of impact going through your legs so that we can keep it tolerable. So the starting point, we're going to hold on to the bench. We're going to start with some very small, I like to call them little pogo jumps. So we're just clearing the ground and landing back down. Now notice, putting a lot of weight through my hands and using my upper body to absorb some of that impact for starters. So this is a really good way of progressing into some jumping if you haven't done much of it before. As you feel comfortable, we're going to, of course, increase the height of the jump, still using the arms to help absorb that impact and making sure you land with nice soft knees and hips. And once you're feeling okay with your jumps, you can really up the ante and actually use the kitchen bench to push up and get a little bit higher with your jumps like this. Okay, and you might even be able to hear that through my microphone, but I'm getting a lot of impact loading, and ultimately that's going to be the best for your bones. So how do we put all this together? Well, first of all, you're going to find an exercise that feels challenging but tolerable for you, something that you can progress from.
Aim for about 50 impacts per session on about 3 days per week, but you can just build into it. So start with even 2 sets of 5 to 10 repetitions and gradually build up from there.
And remember the important traffic light rule. If you've got a green light, that means you've got no pain and you're good to go. If you've got a yellow light, you might just proceed with a little caution, perhaps try one of those simple modifications. And of course, if you've got a red light and you're getting a lot of joint pain, probably stop that exercise, have a break, and maybe come back to an easier one next time.
So there you have 3 ways to safely introduce and progress impact into your routine, from a gentle march to a supported jump.
And while impact training is really important for your bones, it's not the full picture. Research shows that high intensity resistance training is equally as important.
So if you want to get started with some strength exercises that can be modified around joint pain, then head to the video on screen.